I'm going to show you the template methodology because I build templates every class. You know, it's just a tool set. And that way, when you learn it from Ray, it's like, it's not very concrete. It's more conceptual. So whatever your movement preference is, it's going to kind of like, you'll find what works for you, but it will still be correct because it's going to fit into that kind of format. All the guys from a long time ago all had their personal templates. I've got personal templates for anything I want to do, but you'll find you have certain preferences. So we'll go, so we'll start with template 1. Cool. So the template methodology, we're going to look at it as 5 levels per template. When you're looking at what a template is, it's going to be a tool for cataloging a specific objective or goal. So like, for instance, you know, a lot of different art forms will have templates for how to get around body armor, things like weapons acquisition, things like clearing, all these different kind of mechanics. So when I spar, I bring techniques all the way from the ground level up into full contact using a template methodology. And so it's probably one of the more, one of the best things about Filipino martial arts in terms of its training methodologies is the template. So if we look at, so level 1 is always going to be Scarecrow. And so when we looked at template 1, the initial Scarecrow version of template 1 was taught in 3-piece combinations, almost like sparring combinations. So if Jason's here like this, let me tilt this way so you can kind of see it. This is anatomical position, just like, you know, you're used to as an EMT or paramedic. We call it Scarecrow, but essentially it's a static target. So the first 3 targets are going to be brachial, and it'll be carotid. So if it was a 3-piece combination, it'd be 1, 2, 3 this way. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So if his hands are up like this, we can almost look at it as a clear. If you want to look at it as a sparring combination, 1, 2, 3 this way. I poke to the brachial, which turns the body. I poke to the brachial, which turns the body, and then there's my cut. So go ahead and crank it out like a 3-piece combo. You can do it in the air. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Cool. So I'm going to share my screen real quick just so you can kind of see what I see when I'm doing this. Because just like Ray, when you've been doing this for a while and you add the visualization and some of the NLP and some of the meditation practices on it, you can actually see lines. Like I see geometry and stuff. Ray sees it a lot more internally. I see it more externally. I'm going to share my screen just to kind of show you kind of what I'm seeing when I'm doing this. I'm going to share a whiteboard. You guys can see that?
Yeah.
Here's my points of contact. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so if the arms are straight out, this is how the shape is coming in. And what I'm doing is when I'm traveling with my blade and I hit the first part, I never stop moving in. I'm just ricocheting. You see what I'm saying? So 1, 2, 3. There's a difference between that geometry and if I went to this geometry and I went left and then right and then in, if you can see which one would be faster and which one would have a lag. Whenever you see a lot of this stuff, when we're using it for real life application or for sparring, it's always going to be the blue line and not necessarily the yellow line. You're going to find a way to where it's always moving in and it's kind of bouncing in between targets. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh.
So on all of these, what we're trying to do when we take it to the 3-piece combination place is we're trying to look at it in terms of a ricochet and that it's all kind of happening as a triple beat versus 3 things. 1, 2, 3. It's not the same as 1. Now, I'm going to show you the second 3-piece combos here from an anatomical position. I'm going to go subclavian. And what happens is when I sink this, when I go to pull it out, there's going to be some resistance. Here, let's turn it like that. There we go. So I go into the subclavian, which is located right there behind the collarbone. Boop, I sink it in. When it comes out, I'm going to arc to partial and come up to abdominal aorta. So it's 1, 2, 3, but in terms of execution, it's 1 that way. I've got a little bit of, it's going to come out, and when it finally releases, it comes out, I turn it, and then I rotate up. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if you look at my, if you're looking at me straight on, notice how I never give up my center line as it's coming through. 2, 3. So I'll put it on the whiteboard again, just kind of how I see it in my head. is, okay, I'm going to use the, we'll say green will be the person's body. I'm going to do just like we do with tactical targets. We have the tee box, we have center mass, and then we have the pelvis, right? So this is kind of how you are set up for shooting your tactical targets. Here's where I'm looking at my, my points of contact, 1, 2, 3, abdominal aorta, right? The way that my trajectory is going to go, the blue line will be where I want it to go, is once it's inside, there's a sticking point, it's going to release, and it's going to come through here and then up. So you see how that's not necessarily a line, that's all nonlinear, versus if, you know, the yellow will be the bad way to do it. I came in, I came out, I came to the side, I came around, I cut, then I came this way, I chambered, and I came up and through. So if you kind of see the lines, the blue line is all going to happen at once, and that's kind of how it's arcing. I have my anchor point at the top, the subclavian. Think of it like a diving board. Once you spring off the diving board, then it's just a matter of arcing the line around. Does that make sense? So now we'll look at the other 3 piece. So the other 3 piece is going to be here. I'm going to come across like this. So I stopped here. Now I'm going to reach up. I'm going to pull across, and I'm going to cut the pecs. So I'm going to catch brachial, pecs, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, just like that. So essentially, from right here, I'm going to come this way, drag, carotid, partial blue line. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, realistically, it's 1, but there's my targets, 2, 3, stirring the pot. I'll put it up on the screen here so you can see it again, just so we can kind of look at it. Okay, green will be the structure, tee box, center mass, pelvis. Okay, where we want to go is going to be right here. So I'm looking at my target instead of being a point. It can be a point, but my trajectory is going to kind of make it go this way a little bit. And we're going to go point and then point. So when we look at the desired way to go, I'm getting a drag cut. My drag cut's going to come through, and I'm going to initiate my looping cut this way. Now, you see how all this stuff is nonlinear, right? So when we look at this and I go in and I say this would be the crappy way to do it for an untrained person, they'll probably enter in here. They'll probably make a second direction to come here to the cut. They'll probably swing up, change direction, come here. Then they'll probably pull out, come over, and come through. And if you were to measure those lines, you can see how much more of a mess that's going to be and how many problems are going to happen. And that's kind of a large part of why we're picking targets that line up correctly. And they're taught in 3-piece mechanics because of biomechanical feedback and how the body is going to react to those lines. So does that 3-piece combo looks good to you guys? It makes sense? Okay, cool. So the last 3-piece combo, so on all these, since we're looking at 12, and a template does not have to be 12, but it just happens to be for our knife work, is you're going to see, obviously, 4 sets of 3. So the last one is going to be here. It's going to be the reverse T cut that you see from the karambit stuff. And essentially, I'm going to go femoral, femoral, perineum. So from this position here, just like a Philly shell or a low guard, 1, 2, 3, this way. Femoral, femoral, perineum. Now, once I hit this, the knee is going to bow. The knee is going to bow, and then that becomes what we call punching the hole out of the bottom of the bucket. Or in the old days, we just call it the taint blaster. So just boop, right underneath, right? Okay, so I'll share my screen to you again. This way we can look at the geometry. All right, so T-box, center mass, pelvis. Here are my points, femoral, femoral, perineum. So my trajectory is going to go 1, 2, 3. So it's pretty much, I mean, that would be my entry point. So like you can see again, it's not 3 directions. It would be a ricochet because typically one leg will be forward, one leg will be backwards. And as the body reacts, that's how it's going to end up. Otherwise, somebody would probably come in from this direction, then they'd have to break and come in from this direction, and they'd have to break and come in from that direction. Okay, and so we can see how inefficient that is. We're just chaining together targets that make a specific outcome. So with that, I'm going to show you real close here on this, so you can kind of see the difference of a T cut versus a triangle cut. We already kind of talked about it, but let's talk about this being my insertion point for my blade. That's my point, right? Let's pretend I'm inside somebody's body. It's easy for me to rock up and to the side and see how on all those lines there's one common point of contact, which means that wherever I thrust, I can bore out a giant hole inside the body. And that can be to be a dick and just do damage. That can be like with a karambit, we used to do that a lot more because you'll catch on the inside of the body on ribs and hips and all kinds of stuff, and you're trying to get out of being snagged. There's a lot of reasons for it. If I look at what we have in the curriculum now, which is a triangle cut, I'm talking about 3 points being tied up. So we kind of see the difference. One is 1 point that gets bent on the line and causes a lot of internal damage. One is tying up 3 targets in a single movement. So it's an external or a striking kind of perspective. Once you sink it in the body, that's where we look at it like a reverse T, and it becomes more effective that way. Externally, if you're talking about striking, a reverse T might not be as efficient as a triangle cut. So that's why we're looking at it that way. So that looks good. That all makes sense to you guys from that perspective? Okay, beautiful. So like I saw Alan and Salim over there playing around, and I was telling Jason, like, what you guys were doing was perfect. What you want to do is realize that these are your combos. This is like your jab cross hook. This is your jab uppercut hook. All these classic combinations you're seeing, this is going to be your, basically your combinations for being inside the body. And as you did, we play it off of the lines. And so what you were actually doing when you were kind of playing with a little bit is the next level, which is going to be level 2. So the most important out of all of these is going to be level 1. And the reason why is kind of like that conversation we had about, like whenever people don't block, I stab them. Or whenever people don't block, I don't clean their clock unless they have gear on, but I'll touch them to make sure they understood they got hit. And a lot of people have a hard time with that. And the reason I don't have a hard time with that is this is how we trained all day long in the beginning. Like, it's always from the ground up. It's always from the points of contact. The timing makes it applicable for full contact, not the technique itself, if you know what I'm saying. If you can marry it to something like a jab works instantly, then if you can make it a jab, which I just did the first 3, there it is, 1. There's my jab. I just did it again. 1, 2, 3, retraction. That'll probably work. And if I don't get one of them, I'll get probably 2 of them. But if I had to go 1, 2, 3, that's not going to work. So that's kind of the basis moving forward. So when we look at level 2 of a template is going to now be untrained responses, which is going to be like natural responses. So things like bad hand, or another way to look at it would be like essentially the most fast instinctual response. So for instance, if Jason's trained, which he is, if I come this way, he blocks it, he cross taps. Nobody cross taps unless they're trained to or they're just lucky, because even guys that know martial arts have a hard time wrapping their head around why they would cross tap and why they wouldn't do the fastest hand. So once we're in this position, first things first, I get the technique. 1, we're good, okay? Next, the fastest hand is here. So 1, I'm here, I clear, 2, 3. 1, and I clear through. So I have number 1 is the point of contact. He doesn't do anything. Boop, boop, bang. There's my first 3-piece. Now I have this close hand reaction, 1, 2, 3. Now I have another close hand reaction, 2, 3. Now I have another close hand reaction, 3.
I'm finding a lot of traps in it. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Okay, come on. Either 1, 2, 3, or that's how I get.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot more.
That's completely fair.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the point. The point of template 1 is to catalog quick kills. So he should be dead. As soon as you clear it, if he doesn't counter, he's dead. If he counters on 3, then you kill him on 4. If he counters all the way through, then you just go to the next quick kill. So template 1 is all about clearing and quick kills and drawing your blade. Those are the 3 trifecta, because that's the most important thing you didn't do. Get your weapon out, get to the target as fast as possible, chain your targets together in a quick timing that'll allow it to work. And if they clear, then you just move to the next logical line for a quick kill and then plow through everything else on the way out. And so there's a difference between, and I think you guys are starting to see it, like if your goal is to stab the guy and it never stops being stab the guy, that's a completely different thing than like, what's move number 6 again? And as you're seeing, like, what you would see at headquarters when we were playing with this is exactly what you saw there. It'd be like, I'm going to stab and try and get it. I'm going to stab and try and get it. Then a guy would put his hands up, and then we would be like, get that shit out of here. And then you'd stab him anyways. And if you couldn't get it, then he just went to the next counter, the next thing he could do to get the counter. And all he was offering you was the next thing that he could do to try and stop it. Now, it doesn't have to be a specific way. If Angel is receiving for Salim, but he's blocking differently, but that's a natural thing for his geometry and his mindset, it's correct. You just have to find a way to get to that target around the natural geometry of what Angel's doing. And that's the value of touching hands with a lot of different people. It's not supposed to be the same way twice ever. Like, my favorite thing I always think about that Ray would tell me is never get in the habit of getting in the habit. Constantly he would say that, right? So it's supposed to be stab him, like end all be all. Like, if it looks weird but you got in, go you, you know, but it's not about the move necessarily. So no resistance, 2, 3. He blocks the first one somehow, 2, 3. He blocks the first one somehow, blocks the second one somehow, 2, 3. Okay, blocks. Let's say it's here. He blocks again. Fine. There we go. So see how I'm just going to clear it out of the way. He didn't have to react that way. He's trained to react that way because he's done template 1. He could have done something totally off the wall to take that target away. I'm just going to find a way to get to that target. That's what I'm looking for. So the next one's going to be the drag, which can be, you know, it's not necessarily going to be a specific target. Okay, the saying that we always try to use is never dig the same ditch twice. If I thrust somebody in the brachial, it doesn't make much sense for me to thrust them there again. You know, from a vascular standpoint, once I poke a hole in an artery, you know, if it takes 45 seconds for him to bleed out, I'd have to poke him somewhere else for that to be basically cut in half. So if we look at, okay, let's say it takes a minute to bleed out. If I poke him twice, how much time will it take for him to bleed out now? 30 seconds, right? If I poke him 1, 2, 3, now it should be, you know, 20 seconds. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, now it should be 15 seconds. And that's the idea of kind of how we're working. So the only set rule as a concept is don't dig the same ditch twice. So with this, if you manage to miss the brachial because he just zoned out like that, that's fine. I can cut the pecs and I have an immobilizer. If I sink the brachial, but I pull out and I accidentally skate that and I miss the pecs, I can still go into my looping cut or my carotid and my evisceration, right? So as long as it's somewhere in this line, does it matter if it's middle thyroid? Does it matter if it's carotid? Does it matter if it's subclavian? What matters is you don't dig the same ditch twice and that you're surgical. You're not a hacksaw, you're a scalpel. That's what matters. You know what vascular, what nerve cluster, whatever you're trying to hit, you understand what you're trying to hit, and you're not just doing one of these and being a hacksaw, right? We're trying to be surgical. So with this, I have 1, 2, 3. 1, I sink it, or I just shift 1, 2, 3 with a looping cut. Let's say that he just gets in the way, and I'm here. Okay, I can come through 2, 3. All right, he gets in the way again. 2, oh, he's there. 2, 3. I'm just clearing it out of the way non-specifically. I'm not being fancy or particular, right? So he's in the way, he's in the way, he's in the way again. Okay, 2, 3. Okay, he's in the way, he's in the way, he's in the way again, he's in the way again. There it is. Okay, I'm just clearing it out as it's going. You see how as I start to clear it out and he starts to counter, it starts to look like what we're used to seeing in the template. It's not exact, but it's not supposed to be exact. If it has to be exact, it means you don't understand what you're doing. If you're cycling it off of reaction and it kind of looks similar, it's because you understand what you're trying to get to, and you're being non-specific, which is the point of making it work in real life. Because these are our old trainers we used to use for competition and stuff. We weren't using the mask.
I forgot their name.
So, all you need if you want to build up your full contacts, I see you guys have got your masks now. I use template methodology in all of my sparring. And what I'm trying to do is take an idea or a technique from the ground up, and I'm trying to stress load it in a higher end mechanic until it actually shows up in the chaos of full contact. And this is how you do it. It's kind of like a seed. You water it at level 1, you water it, it grows into a tree. Then you turn it into a spear and you stick a guy in the eye with it when you're in the middle of a fight, you know? So this is kind of the idea, is that we have like the timing in terms of what's happening here. So this can be as simple, level 1 is just targeting, right? When we get to level 2, that can be as simple as I'm just going to stab at him and he's going to block. However he blocks, but he's not going to let me get the cut unless I earn it, right? And now we're going to start getting into what we would call level 3. And I'm going to show you a run of it at some point where it is in a sequence like you're used to seeing, but I'm going to show you the heart of it and the soul of it. And this is where we actually, like you just did, put the masks on and we get to work with it. Because I have the idea what I want to do. I have my mitt work, which is 1, is my mitt work. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Then I have a little bit of resistance work, which is like, okay, we're moving a little bit less casual. Like he's kind of putting stuff in the way. Oop, 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 I got it. All right. He's putting, there it is. I got my 2, 3, and I'm just kind of moving. Oop, 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 I got it. You know what I mean? Like, and see, as we're building this, I'm kind of like having to make a response around what he's doing. When we get into the level 3 part, now it's going to get more into, we go from a raw mechanic of how somebody reacts naturally into somebody that is a trained person who's defending themselves. Okay? So what that looks like in flow is knife tapping. If I come here and I clear the hand, knife tapping, knife tapping. So from right here, that's not even there. That's a counter strike. Here's 2, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6, 7, 8. From right here, I get the cut. I pull back, I get the cut. I plow it out of the way. He blocks, I get the cut. He blocks, I get the cut. I'm here, I fold, and I get all the cuts. 1, 2, 3. That's old template 1 because it's done off of a level 3 knife tapping base, assuming that you are working this against a person who understands intelligent defenses. He's not changing mindsets yet. That's modern. This is as far as we would go. Now, if you're going to look at, now that you guys have the masks on, the game is going to be, we can just start, let's just demo it with one of the combinations, and then we'll work it in a sequence. So the demo for this is going to be that I'm going to try and stab him with a number 1. My target does not change. I do this with stick, with anything. Like, my target is the brachial artery. I don't care how I have to get there. I'm going to stab him in the brachial artery. He may, you know, he may angle, he may block, he may move. I'm going to find a way. There it is, and I got it. Okay? And I lunged out to get it. Okay? That's not a drill. That's, I'm getting a target, right? So let's take it to that place. If you have a headgear on, we'll make the target the brachial artery, since that's a little soft. Try not to go crazy and hurt the person, right? Or if you have the face piece on, and you guys got a good, it can be the face if you want it to be, but whatever your target or your goal is going to be, once I go, I'm going to use the rule of 3s. 1, 2, 3. Then I work it into level 2. He's going to block. 1, 2, 3. Okay, he offered a different hand. Didn't change my response. The same thing worked. Now we go into level 3. He's moving. I'm moving. He changes his structure. He's intelligently defending himself. I'm going to try and get it. Boop, there it is. And I got it. Broken rhythm, brachial thrust. See what I'm saying? Focus on the goal, and the rest of it will manifest to make the goal happen. And that's one of the tricks Ray taught me. Part of his mindset, the reason why he never moves the same way twice, is he, in his brain, he teleports to his goal. He focuses on what he wants to do. Everything else gets out the window, and he just teleports into his end result. So he moves differently every time because nothing's ever static. Everything's always different. So that's what I would suggest for you. Find your target number 1 however you can, right? And have your partner move as a trained person would move to defend themselves. They're not counter-striking. They're just being annoying, right? This is like, get an armbar on me. I'm not going to let you. That's what this is, right? So go ahead and just work the number 1, the brachial, and then we'll put it in a sequence so that you can see it. There it is, perfect. See, now he's moving like a fighter. Took a whole 2 seconds in the right focus.
I'm still getting it. I'm not going over it.
All right, so
Good.
we'll do away. Let's do away with the headgear just for right now. We'll do it again when we move up to phase 2 or to level 4 and level 5, so you can kind of get a feel for it. So let me ask you something, and this is something I was laughing with Jason about, is because a lot of people just, you know, don't want to suck it up and put gear on and like actually participate in the art for real. Do you feel more safe about what you just learned or less safe about what you just learned?
Well, no, wait a minute. I feel less safe.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Yeah. Like, every time we spar like that, I'm like, this is a terrible idea. Like, the fact that I'm still here and not getting away to get a firearm is ridiculous, because as you're seeing, like, what you can get away with and the kind of problems and the kind of counters, like, the other guy's not even trying to stab you yet. Like, it's like, I don't want anything to do with it at this point, even just applying a little bit of principles that we're working with. You can see how effective it becomes and the kind of problems that can happen from up close, and you're like, the better you're going to get, the more you're going to realize, like, man, I just don't want any part of this, you know, in terms of if I had to actually do it. So that's the idea, taking it and building it up. This is how I do everything in sparring, and it's why I can work about 90% of the system in full contact, is because of the template methodology. So, all right, so now here's the thing. Here's the timing. If you're the guy with the blade, here's a little thing that all the senior guys know that we never talk about. Here's the problem, is that a lot of the guys just assume that people know this shit, and they don't, and we forget to bring it up. So we just keep doing it, and people don't realize why things that like, for instance, that I do work no matter what, and they can't seem to block it. It's like, because you can't. Like, but we knew that because we use this process. So anytime I want to get the actual movement, when we see us drilling a lot, you'll see block, check, feed, check, block, check, feed. You see these motions, right? These countering. 1, 2, 3, check. 1, 2, 3, check. 1, 2, 3, check. All this timing is not supposed to do. That is just basic training wheels to get you to do the one, right? Everything happens on the one. It can't be blocked. It can be evaded. You can evacuate a line, but it's going to land 100% of the time. Here's what I mean. If I actually wanted this, instead of me, if I did multiple motions, check, feed, he can block it. Look. You hear the sound? Bop, bop, bop. Bop, bop, bop. Bop. See how I went in? There's a difference between 3 beats and a triple beat. Again, there it is. It went in. Okay, I'm not going 1, 2, 3. The second I make contact, I'm going 1, and I'm exploding in on the line straight. It works 100% of the time if you do it the right way. The only thing that'll mess it up is he'll evacuate the line, which means he'll leave because he can't really block it. Or he might be in a position to where he can tilt the geometry of what's happening to where that's no longer a straight line. But if you stay there, you're going to get fucking stabbed, period. So yes, sir. You got a question?
Yeah, so evacuating the line could be going to what you taught last week, going to the 0 negative.
Absolutely. That's why I do that a lot. Is like, for instance, okay, this is assuming that he's staying still, right? Because he's a target. Right now there's no difference between him and a bob dummy because he's standing still. Once I'm here, yeah, that works. But if he senses this percussion and he decides that he's going to kick his back leg that way, spin, there's nothing there. That's the negative angle. So the second that I feel this, there it is. And typically, if the role's reversed, he's here and he just claps and comes in with it. Boom, it sinks. There it is. It sinks. Boom, it sinks, right? So what ends up having to happen here is when he comes in, boom, there it is. So I actually got a liver punch and a draw. Did you catch that? In real time. Because I angled with the momentum and I changed the table, right? That was instinctual. And it happened because my option was get stabbed or get the hell out of the way. But if I'm getting out of the way, I'm also doing blade acquisition at the same time. So that's the difference in timing of why things work and why they don't work. If you look at like Who Bud, he's coming in, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But at any time, if I just wanted it to be over, it's 1, or it's 1, or it's 1, or it's 1. All of those things are kills. All of those they're in the second I want them to be because everything happens at once. So if we look at this, 1, collapse the structure, the clap, 1. Okay, here, collapse the structure. 1, 2, 3, comes in anyways, right? It's all at once. That's how you cave the line. That's how it's supposed to be done in real life. A lot of people can't wrap their heads around why I can't get into all of this. It just needs to come in. Just 1. Go. So are we seeing like how this system is kind of building itself out? You see how it's more stress, you're adding. The end goal being that the more stress you add, you know, the more likely it's going to show up in real life, and your flow is going to be better because it won't be fake in your head. You'll be doing real shit. So to go to level 4 now, let me run this cleanly for you real quick so you can see this. This is old template 1 from the original curriculum, which was originally Karambit template 1. So when we see it exactly how it used to be done, there was no knife draw. It was just 1, 2, 3. I came through here. He checked from here in this position. I got my strike, cleared the line. He blocked. I got my strike, He blocked here. He blocked again. I fed 2, 3, and we were done. Right. So back then, the measure for success was whether somebody could knife tap or not. We didn't have an empty hand sombrata for knife work at the time, so everything was based off knife tapping mechanics. And just so you can kind of see it, when you look at Hubud was used as the base flow, which is here. But if you see that, what is it? It's knife tapping. So there's cross tapping there. If I look at the high-low pass, 1, 2, 3, we see the knife tapping there, right? High-low pass. If I look at low-line Hubud, it's a knife tap. So pass, parry, check, throw line. So when we see that, we see how that's all knife tapping, right? So we saw a progression off a knife tapping base. Now we use sombrata, and sombrata has counters built into it for the practitioner. The good thing about that is somebody can get to a reflex or a response faster that will give them an edge. The bad part about that is that people don't understand how to own the mindset of the feeder because the work's been done for them. Does that make sense? Like, it's already been plug and play, so nobody's had to fail. You guys have probably done more personal growth tonight playing with this template than most instructors have done in their whole journey in the templates, because you actually put on gear and actually went, bang, stop me, you can't. So that's the goal, right? Absolutely. So to demonstrate how I work template work and why my shit works in real life, and Ray does the same thing, and why his shit works in real life, I'm going to use my favorite pair of boxing gloves to demonstrate what level 4 is. Okay? So when we look at the level 4 of a template, is going to now be what we see as template 1. Now, people get this. It's packaged for them. All the work's done for them, right? They don't got to think about it. The design is in there. But I'll tell you what, I've seen guys that looked fantastic in testing, and I touched hands with them, and they fell apart. They just turned to dust. Because the second something came offline, or if our energy was different, or it didn't look exactly like the video, they died because I stabbed them. And I know that they would have died in real life. So the goal is, I would rather you have a template that looks like trash, but you understand how to actually move your body, than have a perfect replica of the template on the video, but you have no idea what the hell you're doing, which is what a lot of people end up having because they've never had someone walk them through the process of what a template is and is not. So this is going to be our easy representation of what level 4 template is, which is empty hand offense against a blade. Okay, so now we're talking about countering. So I'll put these on, and I'll feed for Jason. I'm not going to try and knock him out or anything crazy. We start at the lowest level of stress. When we talk about sparring, low-level sparring, very light sparring, is about redefining structure so that you learn to relate to structure differently, because not everything looks like a straight line. It looks different depending on the body. Medium level becomes about learning and exploration, because there's consequences, but not consequences to the point where you can't try things out, where you can't experiment, right? Like, yeah, it hurts, but it doesn't break your arm. And then when we go up to like high level, really stressful, going full force, insane mode, that's all about emotional control and stress control, right? The goal of what a template does for you is it allows you to take a technique like a snake or a vine or a puño entry and run it through levels of stress and adversity to the point to where when it goes into that 10 out of 10 insane mode, it's probably going to come out because it came out in a 7 out of 10 mode. Does that make sense? So we see a cultivation of a skill set through multiple layers of complexity and through stress induction. And so we're going to play with that a little bit. So we're just going to work the basic number 1. And this is how Jason and I train all the time. We have the masks on. But I'm just going to feed him light level, which means I'm going to redefine the structure. Now, I'm going to move like a boxer, because I am. And what I'm going to try and do is get him to tag my brachial artery. So I'm going to give him a specific spot to hit, because I want to have him, I want to give him challenges that are difficult to the point where he can overcome them, but not so difficult to where they're counterproductive. So I'm going to give him this, and maybe he's so good I can shut him down, and maybe he's not. But the goal is that I'm going to move with him a little bit. And typically how we do it is we go for sets of 3, whatever the technique is. So I'm going to let him run his, okay, there he goes. So that's level 1. Okay, level 2. There he got it. I might feed him something different so he can kind of get to the same thing. Level 3 is going to be the trained response. So from right here, I'm kind of evacuating the line. And he has to kind of work around it. He got it. He changed his timing to the 1, and he got it. So I'll move a little bit so he can get it, 3 times. There, good, he got it. There we go, cool. So now 4 becomes that countering to the technique. I'm not trying to knock him out. I'm trying to move like a fighter would move, to give him things that look realistic for him to get the move against, right? We always go by measure. Sometimes he or I will hit harder than we intended. We kind of, are you okay? No. Okay, well, let's change the armor around. Are you okay? Yeah. Okay, well, we're good with the intensity. So everything's kind of marked out as it occurs. So I'm just going to move a little bit, and he's going to try and get the technique. So see, all of a sudden, whoa, shit, you saw that exchange, right? So I didn't hit him, but he does not feel safe, so now he's got got more to worry about. And I'm not going for anything crazy. I'm just trying to, good, he got it. You got it? Oop, got him? Sorry. It was equal. It was equal? Okay, so he got me and I got him. I punched him in the head. He hit me in the brachial. Who won that fight? He did. He had the bucket. He won that. He made a little bit of a black eye. I didn't hit you hard. No, right? So see, and again, we measure back and forth because I don't want to break my partner. I don't want him to break me, but I want to scale this shit up to where, like, I'm not moving like, I'm moving. I want to move when I'm in the pocket, and in real life with a knife, I wouldn't move like that, but I'm giving him consequences for his actions, right? So play with that idea a little bit.
Yeah, dangerous.
Whoop, 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 and that's what it'll turn into, right? So a little bit, but see, that doesn't look like,
right, yeah.
It's like, that's how shit's going to go down. There's going to be movement. There's going to be all these things, and I'm still not doing what I would do in real life,
That's way easier than you normally do in sparring.
Yeah, it's easier than I give him in sparring usually. Way easier. Because I'm just feeding him a structure to work against that's more realistic.
But I think the stuff, your normal sparring would show on camera.
Yeah, he says my normal sparring wouldn't show on camera. I don't really know. So.
Because you don't move large.
Yeah, I do very micro adjustments, so just enough. So just kind of one guy work at either touching the chest or something like that, and the other guy just go for the 1. Or if you have the mask, put it on, and then we'll work past that and go into the template that we're used to.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, we'll be getting this here, so.
So you guys kind of see, can you see how just something as simple as one move can make your whole art better as opposed to learning like a whole template? Like, it's just how you apply your shit. It's really that simple. So that's kind of the idea of like scaling a template up. And this could be as easy as any of those goals. So I'm going to show you the template as you know it, which is what we see in the curriculum, which is essentially this here. I have 1, 2, 3, counter striking. He clears, he throws a knee. Counter striking. He's striking. He doesn't let me cut him. He's protecting himself. He evacuates the line, throws a hook. Okay, from right there, he zones out, comes back in. I fold. He's here, he's here, he's here. He comes in again. Okay, and that's where 2 would start from that juncture. Okay, but you see there how there's punches intertwined. There's all this stuff going on, right? But a part of the reason why people don't understand how to use the template effectively is they've never spent time just stabbing a body with the template in a format like what you just did. And I would wager that what you just did with one movement on the template is more empowering to your art as a whole than learning an entire template and being correct. I mean, because of the way the movement is, the way the timing has to manifest, it's much more valuable. So this is just a guideline to pressure test your stuff. And you understand this, but I'm going to put how Ray thinks about it, how Tuhon thinks about the template so that you understand where to go with it in terms of what it is, right? So like we talked about, there's 3-piece combinations, but there's also different pieces within the template for different things. So this first part would be the clearing part, right? So offensively, we know it's a 3-piece combo. We talked about that. We talked about all the shit I can do with the blade. But what we're really looking at here outside of the draw is I'm just looking at clearing. So I can work this first part here, 1 and 2 and 3, and 1 and 2 and 3. And see, I can add in this hand. I can add in this hand. It's a platform for me to practice all my different clears. Inside, outside, polysoots, polysoots. Okay, that's the clearing section. Okay, heavy. So with this, once I go from 1, 2, now I get into this. This is all going to be about his counter striking. So he lopsows, he throws a back fist, he comes in, he throws knees, he throws a punch, and I get to this point, right? So this is all him just bang, 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 you know, coming through. So this is what we would call the counter striking section, right? So I have my clears that I can cycle. The second that I come through here and he counter strikes, there's a lot of different ways for him to play with counter striking in this, okay? So he'll feed me a little bit. So from right here, again, there's that counter strike here, boom. When I'm coming through here, here's some options. I just did a guntang there. Can be a guntang, can be here, can be a hit, a grab, a knee, right? There's all this stuff in there that it could be. It's correct as long as you're cycling it and you have control of the blade, right? It's as complex as your skill set is or as simple as you need it to be under stress, right? So as soon as he feeds me the blade that way, I'm passing through. I use an elbow that time, a kilo that time. I'm hitting here. I actually just did a guntang hit there, okay? He's coming through there. I'm coming over top, okay? And I can send that back and cycle that.
Right.
It's whatever you can get away with. It's whatever you can do. Boom, 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 boom. There's all these breaks in there. So just cycle this. He comes in this way. Okay, little detail. I don't keep my hand here or he'll eep it. And then I'm clamped. I pass my hand through and then I come through. Okay, so even from right there, he grabs, boom, there's a break right there. He can come back through. There's a break right there. Guntang, guntang, guntang. Guntang, guntang, right? I'm just working the smackdown. So with this, we looked at the first part. We have the clears. Doesn't matter how I get to them. I can be tapping up, tapping down, whatever, right? Then we go into the counter striking, however he sees the counter striking set. Okay, this next part here, this is evacuating the line. Everything for him is going to be a matter of get out of the way on a lot of different levels. So from this specific position, when I'm coming in this way, I can punch out and get a cut, which is why he's got a bung saw right here. And I do this differently than other guys do because I did it with Ray, and this is how he reacted at the time, and we worked it this way. I have the blade. There's no point for me to go here to try and shoot in for something like you see on the video. Here's the thing. In the video, he does this when he's doing it slow. When he does it fast, he doesn't do that. You know what I mean? Because really, if you have the blade, you're in control for the most part. So once I'm here, I'm going to shoot in for that. He's going to use basically the stick, and that's like the one hand on the steering wheel, right? So he's going to change my line. I come back to tear. He evacuates the line. He throws his hook, and then when I'm coming through this way, he's going to create a wall. And then when I go for this low line, I'm going to come in with a wrinkle in time, which means I'm going to basically do that kind of one footwork. There's no way to dodge it, basically. So he still got cut. So he has to feel for the percussion, and he vacates the line and comes back in. Okay? So we have sticking, augmenting the line, evacuating the line. We have essentially the wall, and then we have exiting the range, right? These are all components of getting the hell out of the way. That's really what it is, right? There's different ways to do it, more than that. And you're going to have to feel it in the moment based on your sensitivity. But the best thing that you'll know is that when you feel those percussive movements that you cannot be there anymore, you have to leave. And that's the value of it, because I have the blade. So this can go a number of ways. It could be as simple as this. I can come in like this, and I'm going to pull back on the line to clear his fingers, and he feels that, so he takes it out of the way. One, I go for that hand, he evacuates the line. I hook, he gets out of the way. He doesn't even stop it. He gets out of the way, right? This is working that principle in motion. So when we're actually getting to this portion of it, he's got counter striking. Now he's going to start to clear the line because I have him trapped here. He can't move from me. All the rest, he wasn't trapped. Now he is. So as I'm coming in, he's going to augment that however it is. I can sit here all day and work different lines. I can come in for the bicep. I can come in for this. I can come in for the throat. I can come in low. But see how he's sticking to the line and he's manipulating me based on my elbow. Okay, cool. Until I get to this part and I'm going to hook back on that elbow. And when he feels that, he's going to leave the line. If he was here and felt the same thing, he's going to leave the line. If he was here and he felt the same thing, he's going to leave the line. So once he's in this position where his counter strike is, okay, and I'm hooking there. So from here, if he stays like this, I'm just going to get that cut so he goes to the outside to create a wall, right? And from right here, I have my wrinkle in time. I throw that out. One line goes left, and at the same time, one line goes in, one line goes out. So everything splits. It's like a little singularity, right? So this goes out, this comes in. So distance going backwards, sideways, and out all simultaneous. So once I'm here in this position. He's just going to get the hell away and just zone out. And then he bounces back in, okay? So go ahead and work that real quick. So I'll show you the last part, and then I'll demo level 5 for you so that you can kind of play with it for yourself. So clearing, counter striking, okay, evacuating the lines, bending the line, evacuating, creating the wall, playing with the range. When I'm in this position here, when I go, he's going to, again, change his angle, step back with his foot, which unlocks his hand here. Now, as I'm in the middle of doing this, I have to keep my guard up. He's actually punching into my knee here. So he punches into the knee, and I have to get offline because he's just throwing punches at my kneecaps while this is happening. So he can either just sit here and just create a wall, and I can keep clearing this because this is a clearing section, or he can use those same clears to punch me in the kneecap. Oop! So I have to start getting out of the way because it's punches, punch, 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 punch. And now I'm just clearing him because he's just coming in with stuff, okay? And that's, so each little 3-piece segment represents a different situation that's going on. And so it's either offensive, where I'm just plugging holes, or if it's counter-offensive, then it represents something different. Okay, so does all that stuff make sense to you guys? Okay, so we see the progression of where it's at. At the end of the day, if he doesn't block, you stick it in his body, right? And level 5 becomes blade versus blade. We are just trying to stand in the pocket and mess each other up. So what I do in this process is I usually limit footwork because what I'm looking for, and this is the angling. It's easy to back up. Largo is easy because you can just keep moving away. Corto becomes easy because you can stop things from happening. Medio is where your real skill set's going to show because it's what you do because you have to do something. If you have a deficiency, you're going to get stabbed. So with this, he's got my brachial, 1, 2, 3. That sets it neurologically in the body. That's a primer neurologically. I'm going to go 3, 1, 2, 3, right? So now he goes in and tries to get it. I'm going to stop it, and he's going to get it anyways. 1, 2, 3. Good. Okay, so we are on a success. Now I'm going to move a little bit. I'm not going to be as compliant. He's going to get it. There it is. Because now I'm moving around. Oop, there it is. Hoop, 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 hoop. Good. Okay. Now there's consequences where I can actually feed this back, which is 5. Actually, consequences would maybe be 4 in this context. So he's moving, and maybe boom, I just got him in the spleen. I got him in the neck. Oh, got him in the neck again. So there it is. I got my brachial. So now what we do is we play a game of each person needs to get a brachial shot 3 times. I don't care how you do it. We're just going to go till everybody gets their number. They meet their killer quota, right? That's level 5 because we're just trying to do like one move. I don't care if he gets it first. I just hope he just needs to get it 3 times, and I'm going to get it 3 times. My success in my own head is based on whether or not I can do it on command for me. If I get it by accident, in my head, I'm like, shit. If I get it and I go, ready, get it, get it, and that's the rhythm I can pop it off and I can get it no matter what, that's what I'm looking for, right? Because in reality, I'm not going to be sitting in this range anyways. So from right here, he's going to get his quota. 1, 2, 3. Boom, I got it. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, disarm. Yeah, there it is. The disarm's there, the explosion. So I got 6 reps. He got his 3, but he had to work through some stuff, right? What I was thinking was a version of lines, negative angle. That's a negative angle. So instead of me going, and really hitting in there, the second that he's coming in with something, there's my negative angle. I literally tilted offline to get the shot because it looked like there's going to be a crossroads, and there's not. And that's how I got that when I wanted it, right? And yeah, it ejected, but, you know, the important thing is he capitalized on that. And then realized if I stab him fucking 5 times in the brachial, you know, the chances of him keep countering me are going to be less and less. So that's where we have to use the critical thinking part of our brain. So to demo this for you, he's got the knife, I've got the knife. 1. The second my hand leaves this blade, it goes into my neck. So the timing has to be that 1 for 1 stuff right here, right? So at all times, when I'm here like this, there's my shot, clear, feed. See how I'm controlling the elbow? At all times, when I'm here, I'm controlling the blade. I'm never letting it go. I'm throwing it out to get, so right there, he's coming in for the knee. Whoop, I fold it. He comes in for the other leg. He comes in for the other leg. And we can play that game all day long until he comes in high. And then that becomes template 2, okay? So blade versus blade. But in terms of actually getting the shit for real, all you need is a number 1. And it'll become self-evident of like where the lines need to go and all that kind of stuff. So here's kind of my goal for you guys, because we could go through 2, but I figured if I really hammered the shit out of you and really showed you template methodology for template 1, how it was shown to me, like you can apply that to any of the 15, 14 templates in FCS or any of your personal templates. You know what I mean? Because once you understand the process, it doesn't matter what you feed into that process, you're going to be successful at it. So really teaching you more templates at that point, outside of just showing you kind of theoretically what they're for, is pointless because you have the key to actually assimilate it into a real life context. So like, even if like the next time you guys want to play template 1, level 5, just do what we just did right there. Extremely valuable. You know what I mean? Instantly feedback. And then when people look at your template and they go, wow, I wonder why his template looks so great. It's because in your head, it's like, I'm just trying to stab somebody. You know what I mean? Like, but the value that you're going to have is playing in 1, 2, and 3. And then once you get to like 3 and levels 4 and 5, when you're doing counter punching, that's where I suggest you guys get like a set of gloves on or another blade. And whatever it is, like last time we played, we were working basic puño mano entries, but we worked it like that. You know, here, stand scarecrow, and I worked rhythm patterns. Bop, 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 bop. And then he went. And then, okay, he's moving and we're getting it. And then we escalated and escalated. And when like the stress got so high that now we're just fucking brawling and it's not technical, we backed the stress down to like, okay, we got the mechanic up to a point where it ruptured under too much stress. So let's bring it back down and hold it in tension at its threshold. And the next time we go to it, we can put it under more pressure.